Hi everyone, it's Miss Kettleson. So today we're going to be talking about decimals. So right now we're in the first stages of decimals where we're talking about place value and how to round with them. So I thought we'd kind of get to do a little refresher together. So maybe you want to watch this, or maybe you're watching this to help your child. So I'm here to help. Okay. So first I thought we could talk about place value. So place values that we know, most of us are pretty familiar with ones, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, 100,000, and millions. So these are whole number place values. But today we're going to be working on decimals. So after you have your decimal point right here, you have tenths, hundredths, thousands, and then it'll even go to 10,000ths. So making sure when your child is saying this is that they're saying the 10, but they're saying the t. So tenths, hundredths. Making sure they say that, because otherwise it is incorrect, and we want to make sure that they have the right language. So let's work on how to say these properly. So I'm gonna have 3 examples, and hopefully this will help. So I'm gonna put the 7 in the ones category, add the decimal point, and let's add a 5. So if I were to say this number, I would say 7 and 5/10. So the whole point with this is that the decimal point, when we say and. I know this is a little different than how we normally talk when we say decimals. Most people say 7.5, but we want to make sure that we're using the right language. So 7 and 5/10. So for what place value to say the numbers in, so the number that you end in, that's what you're going to say for the place value. So this number ends in the tens place, so you're going to say tenths. So let's say I added 2. So this number is now 7 and 52 hundredths. So it ends in the hundredth spot, so I'm gonna say hundredths. Okay, and even let's add another number. So let's say I add a 3. So this number now becomes 7 and 523 thousandths. So we can keep going on and on and on. But the important thing is where the number ends, that is the place value you're gonna say. So for 3, it would go to thousands. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. So let's work on rounding now, because that's what your students have been mostly working on in class. So I'm gonna have my rounder. So we've worked on 4 different types of rounding with these numbers. So let's talk about our first one. So if I were to say round to the nearest whole number, or the nearest one, this would be what we do. So you're gonna underline the one you're working towards. So if you see your student doing this, it's so that they remember this is the one that we're trying to round up or down. And then you're gonna go to the next place value and you're gonna circle it. So that would be a 5. So with rounding, just a little refresher, if it's 5 and above, we round up. If it's 4 and below, we round down. So this is a 5. So that means that we are going to round up. So this number will now become 8. And we always remind our students that after we use our helper friends and the numbers behind it, we turn it into zeros. So this would become 8, but we have to make sure that we add our 3 zeros to the end of it. So let's work on if we wanted to round to the 10th. So if I told the student that we wanted to round it to the 10th, they would go to the 10th spot, underline it, and then they'd go to the next place value as their helper friend. So this time it's a 2. So we have to remember our rounding rules. 4 and below, we round down. So let's look at R2. R2 tells us to round down. So our new number is going to be 7 and 5. Make sure these are zeros. So there's 2 ways we can say this number. So we can say 7 and 500 thousandths, or we can say 7 and 5/10. So hopefully that helps. So let's work on our hundredths. So if I told my student I wanted them to round to the nearest hundredth, underline the 2, circle the 3. So if it's 4 and below, we round down. This is a 3, so that means that we have to round down. So our number becomes 7, 5, and remember we round down. So after we use our helper friend, we have to make sure we turn it into a 0. So this number now becomes 7 and 520 thousandths, or 7 and 52 hundredths, because the 0 doesn't mean anything. Okay, hopefully that helps a little bit. And we can keep going into the 10 thousandths or the 100 thousandths, but I think we all get the point. So the most important things to remember when rounding is our rounding rules. So 5 and above, round up. 4 and below, round down. Also important to remember, we should make sure that we are underlining which one that we're doing and circling our helper friend. After we use our helper friend, it becomes a 0. And every number or place value after that also becomes a 0. So these are important things to remember. Also, the decimal, when we say it, we say and for the decimal point. And make sure that we're saying tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So hopefully these will be helpful for you when you're trying to understand place values of decimals and how to round them. So this is going to help us because we're going to start working on addition and subtraction with decimals. So hopefully these are skills that we will remember when moving on into the next chapter.